Simeri, welcome to my theology project. Today I'm going to be talking about our Unit 2 topic, beauty. I'm going to first talk about a definition of beauty, including the relationship between beauty and truth and goodness, and I'm going to follow that with the relationship between beauty and God and the need for wonder for the everyday person. So the next portion is the definition, and as far as my personal definition, I would say that beauty is inherently found in natural things. Beauty's correlated with how we find pleasure in those things. However, although we all pursue beauty, we'll never be satisfied for beauty because it's a transcendental, and the only way for us to be satisfied of those is to reach heaven. The philosopher Plato has a couple arguments about beauty that we should look at first. His first argument is that love is of beauty and good. It's defined by beauty and good because while love is drawn to the beautiful, it does not possess beauty, and because of this, from this premise, we get the conclusion that beauty is equal to good. His second argument states that love and beauty and good and happiness are all correlated with each other, and they're all sort of the same thing. And the way he relates them is that the lover is happy when they're united with the beautiful. Some would object to this definition of beauty that it's all good, because while people like Plato seem to feel that beauty is an objective quantity, there are some out there, specifically certain artists, especially modern artists, that would argue that beauty is subjective and that anything's beautiful. And right here I have some examples of that. We see like this toilet here from French artist, and then also this telephone, and then also over here just these paintings that seem pretty easy for us to paint, and they argue that, well, they're beautiful because anything can be beautiful, it's all subjective, but realistically there are certain standards of beauty, and because beauty's in the senses and it's a transcendental, it's not all subjective. There's definitely a standard of beauty, and we all see it with our senses. But the flip side of that is there's certain things that we're all certain are real and are natural and are beautiful. Examples of those would be things like nature, which is inherently from God, like pictures of this forest and this clear mountain lake. And these images are definitely beautiful, and when we experience them, we can recognize them as such. Additionally, you see examples in popular artwork with these paintings. These are both famous. This one's of the Greek goddess of love, I believe, and then this one is a famous painting. And anyway, these are clearly beautiful, and we can recognize them, and that goes to disprove the counter to beauty that Thomas Aquinas has, which would be that it's subjective, because clearly we can perceive that, say, these are beautiful, these pictures of nature, while these are less beautiful. Scruton, who we viewed in class, clearly argues that we're losing beauty, and that in losing beauty we are also losing our feelings towards our emotions, and he argues that that's causing issues with our society, and I would agree with that, because he mentions, for example, in architecture, our modern buildings are a lot of glass and cement, and they may be more functional, but over time there's no reason to keep them, whereas the buildings that last are the old buildings that are attractive and nice, and you see those in places like Paris and old cities. And again, it just is so clear that there's a portion of our world, and so many of these philosophers are touching on, there's a portion of our world that is full of majesty, and I think that's what Plato's getting at, is that, and that's the reason anyone studies this, is because it's kind of tends to define, even those who aren't religious, it defines the reason that the planet exists for them. And so I think that's a big key to all of this. And from this, we come to see God and get an argument for God. God creates all beauty, we say, because of the fact that God is good, truth, and beauty. And that's how we see him present in our world a lot of the time. And it also proves God because it shows that God would be the only reason for natural beauty. There would be no cause for natural beauty in our world. We'd have no reason for natural beauty if it weren't for the fact that we had God, because just by chance, there's no way that we would get such natural beauty in our world. This seems pretty clear to all of us. And the only way that we have this is God, because God has the beauty, God has the truth, God has the goodness to an inexhaustible level, according to these philosophers. And this is also where we come to see sin. And you might think, well, sin, what does that have to do with beauty? Sin is kind of the opposite of beauty. It is the nemesis of beauty, because sin is what divorces beauty from its inherent goodness. When you sin, you're divorcing beauty and goodness. And I think that's the key behind sin as well. The philosopher Plato was no religious person. He actually was around before the time of Jesus. But Plato recognized the same thing that so many before him and after him have recognized. And Plato summed it up with diatoma's ladder. Diatoma's ladder is Plato's key concept, and while Plato may not have realized it, it helps to relate beauty and God on earth. Because diatoma's ladder is essentially the different types of beauty as observed by Plato. Beauty goes from the physical beauty at the bottom of the ladder and stems up to emotional beauty, and then all the way up eventually to transcendental beauty, which is God. And that image that Plato shows of the ladder can demonstrate the way in which beauty is connected, and beauty is the same beauty, but we experience it in different ways. And it's often used as an example of an earlier proof for how beauty is connected to God. From an evolutionary standpoint, we can also observe beauty. After all, there would be no reason for beauty in an evolutionary standpoint. Theoretically, it's a weakness. If we're looking at beauty, we're less susceptible to an attack from a wild animal. But the fact that our bodies are trained to recognize beauty and discover that beauty and see that beauty further shows that there's a clear need for beauty, and that our bodies are defined by this beauty, and we look for this beauty because of its inherent goodness towards us. And so that's a final proof for beauty. Thank you for watching this presentation, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.